Hello and welcome to this full moon forecast and walkthrough for the full moon in Libra on April 12th, 2025. I am your astrologer, Cawnawyn, and today we're going to take a look at this full moon and hopefully give you some helpful advice on how to read a chart if you're new to reading astrology, as well as a bit of a forecast of what I see this full moon bringing in for the collective. So if we take a look at the chart, as a reminder, I always use Aries rising. So wherever you are, this chart should look the same, but it's going to change its direction based on the time of day. So I have the full moon occurring at 5:22 p.m. Pacific time in Seattle, Washington. And if you adjust for your time zone, you'll be able to see how this chart looks and which different houses based on your location, which will lend you more information about how that's affecting your community. You can also take this exact time, 5:22 p.m. Pacific time, and apply this to your own chart and use a bi-wheel. So your natal chart and then the full moon chart on the outside, and you can see how this full moon is affecting you based on where our 23-degree Libra moon is falling in your chart. Here we are. Here's our full moon occurring with the sun in Aries at 23 degrees 19 minutes and the moon opposing the sun. That's always what creates our full moon, is when we have a sun-moon opposition in the chart. Here's our opposition here at 23 degrees of Libra. This means that our moon is being ruled by Venus. And what's very exciting about this day is Venus is finally exiting her retrograde. She's still in retrograde at the exact time of the full moon. That's notated in my chart here by this red degree symbol versus the black, which means it's direct. The red means that she's still in retrograde at the time of this full moon, but she will be turning direct on this day, which should come as a huge relief to all of us because we've been living through this Venus retrograde since March 1st. And we've been living under its shadow for even longer. So while this full moon's energy is still being ruled by a Venus ruling over this Libra moon, and while she's in retrograde, so it still might be a little whack, still might be a little internal, still might be a little upside down, we are looking forward to just hours later, Venus finally moving direct. But what I will say is, if you keep in mind, whenever we have a planet that is stationing, that is either stationing retrograde, about to go retrograde, or stationing direct, about to reverse and go back toward the normal direction that we see in the sky, keep in mind that this is kind of like the planet is in a slingshot and you're pulling it back all the way. So there's a lot of potential energy stored up here, and the planet is very, very strong. The volume is turned way up. So Venetian matters with this moon are even more exaggerated, even more highlighted here. If we think about Venus and her air expression of Libra, Venus wants to communicate and talk and share about beauty, about beautiful things. This includes things like keeping things harmonious, finding justice, seeking peace among people, among relationships. Libra is a relationship sign. It is represented by the scales, so it is always trying to find the balance, the quest for balance, not necessarily the actual achievement of balance, right? But Venus in Libra, she wants to talk about things that she finds beautiful. So that's art and poetry and music, and she wants to share big ideas. So all of my Librans out there, there's a lot of energy around wanting to create relationship and have this discussion dialogue that inspires more thoughts, more beauty. And then also like I said, seeking justice, trying to promote fairness and balance within the world. Venus in Pisces, she loves being in Pisces. She is ruling this Venus ruled moon. That's a full moon. Now, if we think about what a full moon is, right? Earlier I mentioned it's an opposition. Oppositions typically come to us in the form of relationships. So we are met or confronted with somebody embodying either this moon, in this case, the moon's energy in Libra, or the sun's energy in Aries. So let's talk about the sun a little bit. The sun in Aries, we've been living through Aries season now since March 20th at the equinox, and Aries energy is that sprout that comes through the ground. It is a symbol of new ideas, new beginnings, new hope, right? It is always trying to start things, and it is also fiercely independent. There's a survivor inside of Aries. There's a warrior inside of Aries, really having to push out. And if you look here right next to our sun, we have Chiron. So what is Chiron? I know we're adding so many archetypes into this, but it's very important, especially when we have these two exactly conjunct at 23 degrees. That's crazy. Okay, so this is a very Chironic, because Chiron is involved, full moon. So Chiron in Aries says that the wound was around, like whether that be a childhood wound or a wound coming from a past life, a wound that is reoccurring through a lifetime. There's a wound here around having to be the warrior, having to be the survivor, having to cut away and make themselves independent. Maybe as a child you were unable to get away from something that was endangering you, and so you didn't have the ability to be independent, or it felt like you were stranded and that you were forced to be independent. Oftentimes Chiron can show up in these like extremes, right? Everyone as a collective here is experiencing this full moon, so how might Chiron be showing up? Well, perhaps you're taking the sun's approach and you're at something trying to be individual, trying to tackle something by yourself, and you're maybe being inundated with the weight of the responsibility. And so then someone comes in and says, hey, let me take some of that from you. Let me share some of that with you. And it might feel like, no, I don't want to give up that control. Or perhaps, oh, it's really scary to hand this over to you, and I don't know how I feel about that. Or I don't want to share. I feel like you're coming at me, and there can be a defensiveness here with Aries, because again, they're a warrior. They're built to survive. So somebody coming in offering a helping hand might actually look like a threat. So if you're seeing this play out within your own relationships, or you're feeling this internally, I invite you to go a little deeper and sort of uncover, where is the danger coming from? Because Chiron in Aries is going to make everything feel a little dangerous, feel like there are lots of threats. Now, you also might be coming from the perspective of the moon. So you're coming in wanting to share ideas, wanting to have a discussion, have a discourse, promote more fairness, equality, right? And whoever it is you're dealing with might be coming from this more threatened place, or wanting to do it by themselves, trying to take on too much. So how can we embody that energy of Venus, right? And not get offended, or not also be squashed by this energy? Because sometimes people that are trying to like do it all are going to just completely bulldoze their way through and take control, where the Libra person's saying, hey, that's not really fair to everybody else, right? And so how can we adopt some of this inner Venus, and remember that this Venus is what's ruling this full moon right now, and recognize that Venus has been inviting all of us on this very deep internal journey through ourselves to recognize, okay, what is my worth in this situation? What is the value that I'm bringing to this relationship, to all of my relationships? How am I showing love to myself? Venus is about love, right? And in Pisces, she is universal love. So it's been this revisiting of trying to like surrender, essentially, to just, I'm going to stand in this place of love to myself. I'm not going to get hyper offended or defensive about what's happening over here, or how this is affecting me, or what this person said. This is truly a great point of reflection for all of us to be in, where we can recognize, wow, a lot of the internal work I've been doing over the last few weeks is coming to fruition now. It's being illuminated. That's typically what happens with the full moon as well, right? The sun is illuminating the moon in its highest glory. So the emotions are high. The moon is like lit up in the sky. And so how can we all tap into that inner Venus and recognize, like, okay, the wound is getting triggered here. It's being exposed. So can we operate with a little bit more Venetian grace? Can we have a little bit more of a soft approach, right? It doesn't have to be this struggle to survive Aries, this forceful nature. But for any of you out there perhaps who might be getting their inner fire not quenched, but squashed, right? Suffocated, right? Because one of the shadow sides of Libra is that everything's okay, everything's fine, everything's fine. And they push all the issues down below, because on the surface, for appearance's sake, we have to appear fine. This might be an illumination of, no, actually, I'm not fine, and here's why. And having the courage to expose that inner wound of self and say, no, I'm fighting for this thing. So I don't want to tell anyone out there who might be suffering from feeling like their inner fire is getting ignored, to continue to ignore that for the sake of peace. That's not it either, right? I think that this opposition, this full moon, can show up in so many different ways, primarily being around self and other. That is the main focus of this full moon, because we're dealing with the Aries Libra axis. That is always about Aries, I am, right? And Libra is who are you to me? How are we in relationship? So the relationship is what's being highlighted here. You have that emphasized even further with the opposition of this full moon, because oppositions, full moons are all about relationship. Is coming into your sphere, and what are you being confronted with? And remembering that anything happening out here is also what's going on in here. It's a reflection of that. So what can maybe lend a hand here, okay? Because we've got some great supportive aspects going on as well. So all of this energy right now in Pisces, first of all of this is about to move, except for the North Node, but all of this, Venus, Saturn, and Mercury is about to go direct. Mercury's already been direct now for a number of days, and it's moving into Aries, which Neptune just entered back on March 30th. All of this is in a supportive, all this water energy is in support of this Mars. So our actions being fueled by, being supported by our thoughts, our mind, our Saturn. This is how we're setting up our boundaries, how we're disciplining ourselves, how we're going about our responsibilities, how we're handling our hardships, our burdens, how we're overcoming obstacles. And then Venus, right? Venus, which is ruling this moon in Pisces. So I really do think that this full moon is a spotlight on what we've all been collectively working on during these last few retrogrades, during the last eclipse season we had. And now it's time to put some action to our thoughts, some action to our changes. And not only that, but Venus with Saturn so close together, this is about not just making, an instant decision that's going to change the moment. This is about making a long-lasting commitment to a better sense of value of self, to love of self. So if this full moon is illuminating anything, I hope that you could take some time for yourself to really think about, like, what are some long-term commitments you want to make to you? You're in relationship with yourself. So what does that look like? How do you want to improve that? If you haven't had the space or time to work with that in recent weeks with these retrogrades, this might be a great opportunity. Lately, you might have been exposed to situations that have brought this up inside of you and have given you new insight. So this full moon is the chance. In some ways, I won't say it's the last chance, because of course we can take our chances whenever we want with this. We can take our moment whenever we need. But at the very, very tail end of this Venus retrograde, this is such a beautiful, poignant opportunity to take in that insight and really integrate it into how do we want to make a long-term commitment to nurturing ourselves better. That's ultimately what Mars in Cancer is wanting from us too. How can we nurture, protect, provide, keep safe, keep sacred ourselves, our needs, our family, our kin, our people close to us? Mars is going to be exiting its time in Cancer very soon. So using this beautiful trine of water energy, connecting with those deep emotions, maybe letting out some of those tears, right, is really, really going to be cathartic and helpful. And all of this might lead to, this is a sextile here, right here, this symbol. I know there's lots of them, right? So there's lots of trines here, lots of sextiles. It's because all these planets are so close together. They're all making this aspect to, if we look down here, to Uranus in Taurus. Uranus is finishing up its last few months in Taurus. It's been there since 2019. We've gotten a long, long trek of this. And now all these planets are talking to Uranus, and they're in a collaborative sextile, collaborative relationship with what? Sudden innovation, insight, lightning bolts of oh, big ideas. Oh, this is the breakthrough I needed, right? So all of this energy here is right for the taking. If you're feeling oh, I'm not a Libra, I'm not an Aries, I can't make use of this. Wrong. This is here for everybody. I talk about a lot how the planets are like the weather, right? The energy they're presenting, it's like rain, it's like sunshine. You get to decide if you're going to go out, if you're going to dress for it, if you're not going to dress for it, if you're going to complain about it, if you're going to make the best of it. It's up to you. That's where the free will comes in. And you have the opportunity to make use of this amazing, innovative energy here, really getting to Taurus. This is the core. This is our inner resources, our inner sense of value here, right? All of this is in a collaborative aspect to all of these planets, willing us to surrender a bit of that control, find some compassion between all beings, right? And give some compassion and love to self and to others here. How can you make a long-term commitment to be in better, to be in right relationship, whether that be with yourself or with those around you? What does right relationship mean to you, right? Like, are you living in that? Or is there something that needs to be exposed, improved, voiced? Don't let the need to make everything seem okay and perfect and harmonious shield or hide what needs to be exposed and come out. So many elements here in this beautiful full moon. I really think this is very pivotal. I also think because of the supportive aspects, we have a lot of potential evolutionary growth here, not only as individuals, but as a collective. So I really hope that this is helpful to you and that you can make use of this. Also, if you're learning how to read charts, I hope that this provided some insight into how I go about reading a chart for an aspect like this and how you might apply that to your own natal chart. If you're interested, I am the featured monthly astrologer over on Bonfire Babble podcast, where I give the zodiacal forecast for every season, and we have Taurus season coming right up, so I hope you'll tune in and listen to that. Be sure you subscribe to my Blue Hour newsletter so you get notified once these forecasts go up, as well as all of my Sabbath forecasts that I give, my astrology talks, and any new music coming out. I have a lot of new music coming out actually this year, so I'm very excited to share that with everybody, as I am an astrologer and a composer and of course an eclectic witch. So it's my pleasure to bring all my forms of magic to you in whatever capacity, and I would love you to sign up for that newsletter if you're interested. Of course, I am still offering readings, so you can do a live Zoom reading with me, or I also have a recorded option where I turn around a reading for you within 72 hours and you can book that way. And be sure to follow me across social media. I'm always posting astrology and music for your enjoyment and would love to connect with you wherever possible. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you for the full moon in Scorpio in May of 2025. Blessed be.